All right, shalom to everybody online here that's with us, and the few we got in the house. Shalom, shalom, everybody. We said that what we was trying to do this week during the Feast of Dedications, which started this past Friday. We went over, we just read the story pretty much on the Feast of Dedications. Brought out some things that'll be uploaded tomorrow overall, but I had said that each day of the Feast of Dedication that I was going to go over some foundational things. Just going back over some stuff that I did back in 2015 to make sure that we know how to navigate through the scriptures and get the right understanding of and get the right conclusions, or what we set our minds to and set our heart to what we're supposed to be doing. So first, let's talk about something real quick that I think is imperative for us to understand, is how to study the scriptures and come with the best conclusion that we can have. Because a lot of times us waking up to the truth, we dealing with thousands and thousands of years of misinformation. We all are not in the truth, but we are in the lie. So that's what we don't like to really understand. We ain't in the truth, we are in the lie because we was born into the lie and we conform into the truth. That means we're coming out of darkness and coming into the light. So that's the perspective in which we need to approach our understanding so we can get the right perspectives, even dealing with the scriptures, right? So let's hit a few things. I want us to understand that we have been in a lie for so many years, and now we're coming into the truth. And as you come into the truth, you'll learn that the Ruach have to lead and guide you into all truth. Because as your understanding expands, then your level of truth gets more grounded to be able to stand upon, right? There's certain things that you thought when you first got in the awakening, as you got some dirt under your feet, you begin to see, okay, that just got me in, but when I really get the full understanding of that, I see that that wasn't so. Now I got a new truth. So now it's important to understand that you're always going to be coming into more understanding as the Most High give us more revelation according to what the scriptures is saying, right? So we have to stay open to the leading of the Ruach. Stay open, because your heart has to be conditioned for certain types of revelation. Some of the stuff that you know now you couldn't have heard in the early days because you couldn't receive it. So the Most High had to condition your heart to be able to receive certain revelations and certain understandings. But what I'm going to first do, give you some analysis to give you a basic understanding on how to study the scripture. If you look back in 2015, 2016, you'll see me saying these same things. And even when we started in Columbia, the Columbia Assembly, when you see that online, you'll see me saying these same things, because it's something that has helped me with it now. We have classes where we expand on that to give you even more things to add to it until you study. But these are the basics. But let me say this. The study of any text of scripture divorced from its cultural setting and historical context is insufficient for formulating conclusions in regard to meaning. This is why it's imperative for us to understand our culture, for us to understand our covenant, for us to understand the historical context of what things are speaking of. This is why I have learned that it's more imperative for you to go into the ancient time to understand what is being spoken, who is being spoken to, why is it being spoken, how would not only Israel but the neighboring cultures have understood this. Is this something that the Most High is stating because of what they're seeing around them. That's making him say things specifically that he don't want them to do, that he do want them to do, before we bring it into our day and try to make conclusions that we stand on that comes our convictions. So it's imperative that we understand, or we get in between the best way we can, the Most High's lips to the ear of the Israelite, or to the ear of the patriarch in the scriptures. I want to get in between that to get the mind of the person of the Most High that's speaking it, and then how the hearer would have learned how to do based off of why he was speaking it. And sometimes that changes. You'll see something in Genesis, then you'll go into things that you'll see during Moses' time. Then it's things that you'll see during Yahushua's time. As the understanding begins to become even more particular and more evolved, and sometimes some things be concerning their situation and their circumstance. But it's my job, before I try to bring it all the way into my day and misunderstand it, because certain things that was spoken then, he didn't have us in mind on specific things, in the sense of something as simple as getting a haircut or not. You can't look at scriptures and think, when the Most High was given certain things that he won't prohibit it, that he had in 2020 somebody that can plug in some clippers and begin to give somebody a lineup and say, that's what I was talking about. When the people of that day would have never understood that, because they had never seen anything like that, for us to come up with that type of conclusion about what he was speaking. What we did, we looked at a scripture, and that's what a lot of the camps do. We look at a scripture and we bring it all the way in our day so we can apply it to our now before we got the understanding. That's why he said, with all your getting, get what? Get an understanding. So you have to go in their time and listen to what the Most High is saying. Listen to how the hearer would have heard it. Now I got to go into the mindset of the people. We looked in Genesis and seen Genesis was talking about something totally different. Genesis chapter 1, something totally different than what we would have knew it was talking about when we read the story. How an Israelite or a person of the ancient Near East would have read Genesis based off what we read. They would have read about a temple. They would have read about an Elohim reigning in the temple. They would have seen priests. All in Genesis 1 based off the understanding of the time. Right? So, this is why that is important, right? Let's keep going. All right. And I'm going to give you a few analysis to understand. And I want you to begin to write this stuff down. Look at this stuff and produce fruit from it. This is not in no particular order, but it's imperative to understand it so you don't misinterpret what the scriptures are saying. Right? One of the analysis that you can do is called a contextual analysis. Contextual. Contextual analysis means, what is the subject matter? What are we talking about? What is the point? What's the context? What's the subject? And sometimes you have to read the whole chapter to understand what's the subject matter. And this is very important when you go to the Brit Hadashah and you start reading our brother Paul. Because if you don't understand what the context of what he was talking about, you'll come up with the wrong conclusions. Sometimes you got to go read Romans, Corinthians, to understand Galatians. You have to go back to the book of Acts to be able to understand what he's saying in Romans 11, what he's saying in Corinthians, what he's saying in Philippians. So a contextual analysis, how do I understand the context? That means I know what the pretext is and the post-text. The pretext is what is being said right before I get to what I believe the main point. The post-text, what is said after it. Sometimes I got to read the chapter before. Sometimes I got to go to the beginning of the book and read towards the end of this whole book of Galatians to see what the subject matter is. And this is where we mess up a lot of times, even when we talking about, when Christians talking about clean and unclean eating. They'll mess the scripture up. They'll take Matthew 7 and make you think that he was talking about now we can eat anything. Saying it ain't what goes in a man that defiles and will come out of a man. And we'll say Peter, when Peter had the dream, we'll say he rose up and say we can eat anything. But when you go to the beginning of the chapters and you read it all the way down to that point of what you're trying to stand on, now you know what the context is. Now you know what the subject matter is. So your conclusions can be different, right? But you don't stop there. That's one of the analysis. Another analysis to do is a word study analysis. A word study analysis is to understand that the scripture is not written in English. So you can't approach the Bible with an English understanding. Because the English language will make you miss jewels that you'll never see Hebraically. Our King James of the Bible do not got the full concepts of the ancient scriptures. It's what we got. Of what he was saying Hebraically, through the mind of the Ruach, through the Hebrew writers. This is why you can't get locked in the American English King James Version. You have to go into the Hebrew. You got to have a good Hebrew dictionary, a lexicon. So I can go and see what the definition of this English word saying in its Hebrew to get the Hebrew. I'll give you a quick example. When you look at Hebrews 8 and 8, I'm trying to go off the top of my head. Hebrews 8 and 8 that says, I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah, not according to the covenant I made with your forefathers. Right? When you look that word up in the Greek dictionary, it says new. Right? But then he's quoting from Jeremiah 31. So when I read Jeremiah 31, and then I look that word up when it says I will make a new covenant, and I look it up in the Hebrew, it says renewed. So from a Christian perspective, I'll be thinking that I'm coming into something new. But Hebraically, it was not a new, it's a covenant that has been renewed or repaired or reestablished. That changes the whole concept of it. This is why Yahushua was saying, I don't come to bring you nothing new. Or a new commandment. I speak what my Father has spoken. Right? So this is why. But let me tell you this. They go deep. Remember, when you go into the Strong Concordance and you get the Hebrew word, if you want to add anything to it, you can add something. And you get the Hebrew word. Remember, that's their best historical of evidence of their study that they didn't got on this Hebrew word. Translating it from English to Hebrew and giving you the Hebraic meaning. Doesn't mean that the Strong Concordance is inspired by. The Strong Concordance is not the gold standard. But it helps us further understand what they are saying. And then, not only with the Hebrew letters, so that's why I got to get studied. And also, too, they go a little deeper than Strong's. Right? And then I also can go into the Paleo. The Paleo understanding of the alphabet as concerning the words. Right? Every letter, alphabet letter in Hebrew has pictograph understanding, and also a understanding or a picture or understanding of what the alphabet is saying, and what the letters is saying as it relates to the word. With this being said, I can put a word together, take each letter of the word and get its Hebraic definition of the letter and get what the fullness of the word is saying. And sometimes that's imperative to do, to get the full mind of what the Hebraic letters are saying, because they are spiritual. And they will reveal the mind of the king to you. Right? Now, anything you want to add? Now, anything you want to add over there? Now, that's not all. What if I found out what the definition was, but I don't study the culture or I know the history of the people? Because in the cultural, it's customs, it's Hebrew idioms, it's time and settings. There's certain things I gotta understand why the Most High said certain things when they was in the wilderness, based off the setting. Why he said certain things while they was in Egypt, based off the setting. Why he said certain things when they came into the land, based off the setting. I got to understand time and setting and the mindset of what was going on also in the cultures that surrounded Israel, that gave Israel its prohibitions of what to do and what not to do, based off of their surroundings. Certain things were perpetual. Certain things were for the land. Certain things were in captivity. Certain things was pre-exilic, before captivity. But he had an answer for all things. That wherever Israel found their state in, they knew what they could do. Right? Time and setting. Hebrew idioms. This is what I mean. Hebrew idioms is what the slang, or what we would call today slang. If I say to you, cats and dogs last night, everybody would understand it was raining hard. If I say I'm going to the plantation tomorrow, everybody would understand that means what? Black people would understand. That means we're going to work. But if somebody only studied the Hebrew definition, the English definition of plantation, 20 years from now, then they'll be like, in 2020, that was slavery. Because Morris Williams was on the live at that time, and he said he got to go to the plantation. They would have slavery back then because they would have studied plantation, but not the culture to understand the English idioms. And that's the same way in the Hebrew. The Bible is filled with idioms. If you don't understand or interpret it, especially when it comes to Yahusha, you're misinterpreting. Because you're reading what they saying and think you're saying something it ain't saying. Because you'll give it an English definition. Because you're bringing Israel in your time rather than going in his time. Therefore, your conclusion, wrong again. Then you have to study the customs, right? All that is based off the historical and cultural analysis. One of the last things that you can do is consistency analysis. How consistent is this thought from Genesis to Revelation? Was there a change from Genesis to the wilderness to captivity? How consistent is the thought? Through the Messiah, through the Besorah, through the epistles. Is it line upon line, precept upon precept, here, and there, on itself? If he the Elohim said, I change not. So you have to understand that. How consistent is this thought? And I'll give you an example. All through the scriptures you see genealogies. You even see genealogies when it talks about the heavens and the earth. And these are the generations, the genealogies of the heavens and the earth when you read in Genesis. All the way through it. He beget, he beget, he beget, he beget, he beget, he beget, he beget. Then you get to the Besorahs. First 2 chapters. Beget, 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 beget. Then you hear Paul say, have God cast away his chosen people? God forbid. Even I am an Israelite of the tribe of Benjamin. And you'll get somebody to say, you ain't supposed to be striving in genealogies. That striving in genealogies causes us to err. Wait a minute. So that means, if you're saying genealogies and understanding genealogies is error, you're saying from Genesis through the Torah, through the Tanakh, which is the prophets, the Psalms, that the Besorah, all that is error. That's what you're saying. That everybody that brought up genealogies before that is in error. The problem is, you look at what something said and got an English understanding of it, and you didn't do your historical and cultural analysis to see why would Paul be saying that at that time. Where was the setting of his statement? What was going on with genealogies in that area? What gods was connected to genealogies? And what did the people do to connect their genealogies to the gods that profit nothing? What was the pantheon of the god in Ephesus that was known in the area for the Greeks to do? Then you look for the example in Romans 14. All that would disqualify you saying that we're striving in genealogies. Got a whole teaching on that. We'll get on that sometime this week, where I give you a full breakdown on how to handle every Christian objection to topics. Alright? So, again, contextual analysis, word study analysis, historical and cultural analysis, and consistency analysis. Even dealing with the law of first mention, right? How consistent it is, and progressiveness, right? Alright, so let's get out of that. And hopefully y'all got the documentation that we're going to be just looking at today. Let's see here. Let me get to it. Alright. Now you should have the one. I did this way back in the day, so I'm going to have to look and see if some of this stuff still relevant. Alright, so it should be the one that says, proving the descendants of the transatlantic slave trade are the children of Israel according to the scripture. What we looking like on time?
8:17.
8:17. I ain't doing too bad. Okay. I need some help with this one though. Got to go through. You got something over there?
Somewhere.
Scripture. I got me to do that. I'm gonna read Isaiah. We're gonna go to Isaiah 28, 9 and 10. Somebody say they didn't get it. If you didn't get it, Jayla gonna get it to you. Or send me an email to Hebrew Nation Building, and I end up tomorrow giving it to you. But Jayla, y'all put your emails back in there if you ain't got it. Elder, you get Psalms 119, 104. All right, Isaiah, you gonna get some?
Yeah, I get one.
What I'm talking about? Get Psalms 119 and 130. All right, so now first category is, well, I just showed you how to study the scripture, but through the scripture, let's see what gives the authority of the scripture. So let's talk about the authority of the scripture real quick, but through the scripture. All right, so we'll go to 128, and this is how we understand it. This is how we learn. Isaiah 28, verses 9 and 10. Isaiah 28, verses 9 and 10. If you don't got get you a pen and paper and write the scriptures down until you can get it. Isaiah 28, verses 9 and 10. My mama called him. She don't call it again. Oh my goodness. Isaiah 28, verse 9 and 10. Let's read it. It says, whom shall he teach knowledge? And whom shall he make to understand Torah? Them that are weaned from the milk and drawn from the breast. Watch this. For precept must be upon precept. Precept upon precept. Now we're going to see in the next scripture what a precept is. Precept, law upon law, word upon word, line upon line, here a little and there a little. Now this is how we'll go into the scriptures, where the scriptures begin to, through the consistency analysis, begin to build upon itself. Scriptures will relate to each other. It'll keep speaking to each other. It'll be here a little and it'll be there a little, but it'll have the same word or message throughout the scripture. So I'm not going to take one scripture and make a full doctrine of it. I have to see how it builds upon each other to formulate the full thought. We're talking about the authority of the scriptures now. All right, Eddie, you get Psalms 119 and 104. That'll help us see what a precept is. Because some people say, you can't use this scripture. It ain't talking about that. Okay, well, let's just see what a precept is. And see, can it be upon precept? Psalms 119, verse 104. Then, Kimmy, you get Psalms 119, verse 130.
Okay.
Psalms 119, 104. Through your precepts I get understanding.
Through your what?
Precepts I get understanding.
So through your precepts, that means it's precept being upon precept, I get my understanding. That means this word is what build my understanding, right? Is that all it says?
Therefore I hate every false way.
So I learn how to hate every false way, and this keeps me from deception. That's why I said, the scripture says, strong meat for those that are of full age have by reason of use to have their senses exercised to discern what good versus evil. Hide your senses exercised through the meat of the word. This is how you learn how to hate every false way. This is how I learn how to build upon what I believe, right? That's all of that?
That's it.
All right, what you got, Kim? Psalms 119, verse 130.
The entrance of thy words giveth light, it giveth understanding unto the simple.
Read that one more time.
The entrance of thy words
The entrance of thy word giveth light. So the entrance, when I begin to study his word and get his word in me, it's going to give me light, which is going to give me understanding. Right? And keep reading.
It giveth understanding unto the simple.
It give understanding to the simple, because all are simple. You ain't smart. We done been deceived for thousands of years. When it comes to the understanding of the scripture, we simple. When we take the understanding, that means we can come at him as a child, and then he can build us up. Right? We seeing that. That was it on that? All right, we're going to get 2 Peter chapter 1, verse 19. And Elder, you get Hosea 4 and 6. We're all talking about the authority of how we learn and understand scriptures to be able to prove through the scriptures who we are. Now, well, let me say this. 2 Peter 1 verse 19. Now, this is very important. This scripture right here is important than any DNA test. Mark this one. This is your DNA test right here. Because people can fool with the DNA test because you got to swab your DNA, your saliva, and you send it in to the same people that have you captured. And they gonna tell you who you are. This right here goes beyond the slave masters raping the women when that baby came out of Hebrew belly. I got a scripture on that. We'll get to that. By mixed babies and prophecies. It was prophesied how the Most High will look at them babies as Israelites. Y'all don't want to talk with me tonight. 2 Peter 1 verse 19. We have also a more sure word of what?
Prophecy.
A more sure word of what?
Prophecy.
So this thing is more sure than anything. Because ain't no DNA test going to be settled in the heavens. The Most High don't magnify no DNA test above his name. We got a more sure word of prophecy. Well, until we do well to take heed as light that shineth in a dark place, until the day star dawn, until the day dawn, and the day star arise in your heart. So this word of prophecy going to be shining what? In a dark place, in your understanding, the areas you don't know why, until you get the revelation of who you are and get confident in that. It's prophecy that's going to wake you up more than anything. Right? Knowing this first, that no prophecy, notice it said no prophecy of the scripture is of any private interpretation. That means the Most High settled something before they can mess with it, before they can tamper with it. It's of no private interpretation. Verse 21, for the prophecy came not in old time by the will of man, but wholly a Kodesh men of Elohim. They spoke as the Ruach HaKodesh moved upon them. So we see in that. We build our understanding upon the precepts. They give us understanding. They make the wise simple. Then when we go into prophecy, it's more sure. It's like light shining into a dark place until the day star rises. And then it shines in our heart. That means we come to our fullness. And it's no prophecy that is given by a private interpretation. But men, as they was moved by the Ruach HaKodesh. We see in that. That's give us our authority of why we stand on this book. I don't stand on something outside the book to stand on the book. I stand on what's in the book, what's written. Let's get Hosea 4 and 6 and let you see what our problem is.
Hosea 4 and 6. My people are destroyed for lack of the knowledge. Because you have rejected the knowledge, I will also reject you.
So we've been in centuries of being destroyed. He said, notice he ain't say the people of earth are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Notice he didn't say everybody is destroyed for a lack of knowledge. But he says, my people, that means what I possess, they're mine. So there's a specific people in the earth that is his, that is destroyed by what they don't know about themselves. There's a people on the earth walking around destroyed, not because it has a ton, but because of lack of knowledge of who they are to him. He said, and these are mine. There's a lot of other things destroying other people, but the dang things that are destroying my people is lack of knowledge. Are we seeing that? So those are the authority of the scriptures that we stand upon to prove who we are. It's in the book, right? Now, a lot of these things are going to be categorized, right, to help you see how you can prove who you are in the book. Now let me first say this. This is when you're just proving who we are by the scriptures. To really prove who you are, of course we use the scripture, because the people of the book leave context of who their children are. Then also we use customs and culture. You have to understand customs and culture of different ancient tribes to see what tribes follow the same customs and culture of the Bible that is still in the earth now, that never lost their identity. Then you have to understand migration patterns, where certain people migrated and what they went to and what they carried with them. Where were they at before? Whether they scatter after 70 AD. What customs and culture is different than the natives of that land that identifies with Israel? What were their migrations? Not just migrations, but you got to study also where persecution sent some people and what was said by that. Then you have to study what the explorers wrote about certain people that they deemed was Israel and called lost tribes, and what the explorers said about who they found and their customs and their culture that relates to the scripture. Then the oppressors, because the oppressors documented who they oppressed, why they oppressed them, and how they was able to overcome them. Then that's when you go into, after that, the E1 B1A, the blood types, the bloodline. All these things help you prove who a people are in the earth, and you can't be lazy in that. All right? Okay, so let's move. Let's go to the confirmation of the covenant, right? Let's go to Deuteronomy 28, verse 1. Elder, you get Deuteronomy 28. Well, I get it. I get Deuteronomy 28, verse 1. Kimmy, you get Deuteronomy 28, verse 15. And Elder, you get Deuteronomy 29, verse 10 through 15. All right, so we're going to Old Faithful. Old Faithful is Deuteronomy 28. That's your Hebrew starter kit. Everybody should know Deuteronomy 28. Everybody. All right, let's read this. And it says, because and I'm going to get into covenants this week to help you understand what covenants are. The mindset of covenants, all that. But I just want to hit you with this first. We're just going to go through scripture. Deuteronomy 28, verse 1. And it shall come to pass, if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of Yahuwah thy Elohim, to observe to do all of his commandments, which I have commanded you this day, that Yahuwah your Elohim will set thee on high above all the nations of the earth. And all these blessings shall come upon you and overtake you if thou hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, Yahuwah. And it says, blessed shall thou be in the city, blessed thou shalt be in the field. Blessed shall be the fruit of thy body, the fruit of the ground, the fruit of the cattle, of thy kinds, and the flocks of thy sheep. Blessed shall thy basket be in thy what? Thou what?
Store.
Thou what? Let me put a pause right there. Thou what?
Store.
Thou store. So even in the blessing, they had a storehouse. The storehouse ain't just for when lean times come. It's being prepared for all situations. And he said, I'm going to bless your storehouse. They weren't going around and say, Yahuwah going to take care of me anyway. Even in the blessing, he talking about the storehouse. Right? Now, let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and 15. Now, he's setting before them. He's trying to bring them into a covenant. He's talking to them and giving them the requirements of the covenant. Because the Most High do not build relationship with anybody he don't have a covenant with yet. Everybody that he has a relationship with, he cut a covenant with them first, that he can have relationship or the ability to be able to build with them. And the laws is what bind the relationship together. That's how you experience the love of the Most High, is through covenant. He won't give his love to you if you ain't in covenant with him. Outside of covenant, you just a creation. But in covenant, you're no longer a servant, but you're a friend and you're a son. And then with Israel became a wife. That means that covenant made Yahuwah responsible for us. But he was giving his ketubah to her first, letting them know this is what I'm required to do. This is the blessings of it. This is how I'm going to take care of you. We'll get into that later on in the week. Right? Now go to Deuteronomy 28 and verse 15. If you mess up, this is what's going to happen. Who got it?
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of Yahuwah thy Elohim.
So he's saying it shall come to pass. That means something is going to happen in the future if you don't do this. Go ahead.
To observe to do all his commandments.
All his what?
Commandments.
And
his statutes. Which I command thee this day. That all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
All these curses shall come upon thee and do what? Overtake thee. Right. All right. So now let's go to Deuteronomy 29, 10 to 15, because I want to give you the full setting of this. He's talking to the Israelites. He's letting them know through Moshe that this is what I'm going to require out of y'all. This is what's going to give y'all my love, my mind, my everything. And then I'm going to set laws and commandments and statutes that bind you to me. That keeps the boundary of this love that I'm going to give to you that I ain't gave to nobody else. Right? Okay, let's matter of fact, that ain't in here. But let's read it. Let's go real quick. I'm sorry. I gotta do this. Let me show you that. Let's go to Psalms 147 verse 19. And then let's go to Amos 3. I'm sorry, I know I ain't got this down now, but I want to show you this. Psalms 147, verse 19, and then one of y'all, can y'all get Amos 3 for me? Let me make sure I find out which one in Amos that I want.
Where it says he choked young.
Amos 3. Amos 3 and 2. Alright, so Psalms 147, verse 19. Let me show you. So this is what he's saying, that when I bring you in covenant with me, no other nation has ever been in covenant with me. That means we are one now. So the other nations, I don't know. But you, I know why, because I became intimate with you. Why I gave you my mind and I gave you my heart, but I gave you boundaries that protects both of us. And this is what messes up in this American culture, why we didn't have all these bad relationships. Because we keep giving people our mind and our heart with no boundaries. We give people our mind and our heart with no law. Now they do any and everything with us. Because we don't establish no covenant, because we just want love. We want somebody to make us not feel by ourselves. So you establish stuff with people without boundaries of a law that will bind both of y'all together. Side note. Psalms 147. You better be like your father. You better be like your father. Anyway. Verse 19, he showeth his word unto Jacob, which is Israel, and his statutes and his judgments to Israel. He have not dealt so with any of the nations, and for his judgments they have not known them. So he's saying right here, praise ye Yahuwah, that no other nations have he showed his commandments, his statutes, and his judgment but Israel. Let's read Amos 3. Verse 2.
You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities.
You are the only one that I have known out of all the families of the earth. That's why I'm going to punish you for your iniquities. He said he ain't known no other family. That means that he haven't been intimate, one-on-one, came in covenant with no other family. He ain't never came into a blood covenant with no other nation. You are the only one in his house, in his sheepfold. Then he says, can two walk together except they agree? How are we going to be in covenant together and we don't agree? We made that about brother and brother. You was talking about himself in Israel. How two of us going to walk together? The walk means is to be in covenant. That means we took the walk unto death to become one and we be not agreed? How is that possible? All right, now let's go back to where we at. Deuteronomy 29, 10 through 15. Now, again, he's setting up the blessings. He's setting up the curses. Right? I show you how at this point they were between the parts. They had the animals split in half, and they declaring, the Most High declaring his terms of the covenant to Israel, right? We'll get into different types of covenant and what that means. When man make covenant with man, when a greater kingdom make covenant with a lesser kingdom, with Elohim make covenant with a people. We'll go through all that this week. All right? Now, this is what you got to get, because this identifies you. This lets you know that how this thing can come all the way down to your blood, right? Because we've seen that he said, if you follow these statutes and commandments, these laws that binds us together, he said, I'm going to put the blessing upon you. But if you don't, then I'm going to put all these curses upon you, right? That means you have shattered this covenant. You have broke it. Now the consequences come, right? But let's see if he just makes a covenant with a person or people, or do he make a covenant with everybody in their lineage? This is going to give you your lineage answers. Deuteronomy 29, 10 through 15. Kimmy, you get Deuteronomy 30, verse 19. Elder, what you got?
Stand ye this day, all of you, before Yahuwah Elohim.
All right, so this Moses saying that y'all standing here this day before all, keep going.
Your captains of your tribes, your elders, and your officers.
Wait a minute. Look at who all he's saying. Say it again.
Your captains.
Your captains.
Your elders.
Your elders.
Your officers.
Your officers.
With all the men of Yasharel.
Well, all the man, because it's a man covenant. Keep going.
Your little ones.
Your little ones.
Your women.
Your women.
Your stranger that is.
Whoa! So the stranger came into this covenant as they was attached to Israel when he first made it with them. How can we say that Gentiles can't come into the covenant and they right there? Read it from the top again.
Ye stand this day, all of you, before Yahuwah Elohim, your captains of your tribes, your elders, your officers, with all the men of Yasharel, your little ones, your women, and your strangers.
And keep going.
That is in your camp.
That's in your camp.
From the hewer of your wood.
They're going to give you their occupation. From the hewer of the wood.
Unto the draw of your water.
Until the draw, to let it know it ain't no distinction. This ain't no thing that the stranger or the Israelites, that the lost Israelites that came into mind, now they strange. No. That's dead. These are the hewer of the woods and what else?
The draw of your water.
And the draw of the waters. Because ain't no Israelite going to be doing that for Israelites. Keep going.
That you should enter into covenant with Yahuwah.
Wait a minute. So all these people going to do what?
Enter into covenant.
The stranger, the children, the women, the men, the elders, everybody. Keep reading.
That you should enter into covenant with Yahuwah Elohim, and into his oath, which Yahuwah Elohim cuts with you.
Now that oath is so important in the covenant, because that is what actuates or cuts the covenant. It's the oath that makes the covenant actual, real. This is why sex is not marriage. Sex is what binds you together. But the oath is what makes it ratified legally to Yahuwah. All right, I'm on all other subjects. I'm sorry. Keep going. Deuteronomy, keep reading.
Verse 12 again. That you should enter into covenant with Yahuwah Elohim and into his oath, which Yahuwah Elohim cuts with you this day. 13, that he may establish you today for a people unto himself.
Unto who?
Himself.
Unto who?
Himself.
So he's saying, I'm going to establish you today as a people unto me. So it don't matter what nobody else feel about that. Ain't nobody finna make me feel bad about being Yahuwah's chosen. He said that, and he didn't ask for forgiveness. He said, I'm going to make you my people unto me. That's just like if I order some pizza for my children before I get home and my wife, and the pizza get there before me, and say I gave them a cheese pizza. Now, y'all vegan folks, chill out. This is just an example. I gave them a cheese pizza. And I said, I'm going to get the Philly chicken cheese pizza for me. That cheese pizza for them. But the Philly chicken cheese has been separated unto who? That's my pizza. Like Moshe saying, these are my people. Keep going.
Verse 13. That he may establish you today for a people unto himself, and that he may be unto you Elohim, as he has said unto you, and as he has sworn unto your fathers, to Abraham, to Yitzhak, and to Yaakov.
So he did that by oath. He been sworn to all our forefathers that we his people. Why are we scared to say we chosen? We his. When he swore it by oath. And we made somebody not want us to say it because mama gonna get mad at me. Brother ain't gonna understand because the Most High say, I chose all people. That ain't what the book say. He loved everybody. That ain't what the book say he came in covenant with. Keep reading.
Verse 14.
Now pay attention. This is where you want to get your highlighters. And highlight this. 14 and 15. Read this. This is identify you. You remember everybody else came into this covenant, but somebody else is there. Somebody else is there being spoken for that ain't actually there. Read it.
14. Neither with you only do I cut this covenant.
So now he said, wait. They're the only ones out there. When he's saying this to them. Then he looks at all of them that is there and said, neither do with you only do I make it. But read.
And this oath, verse 15, but with him that stands here with us this day.
The ones that are standing here with us this day, and what?
Before Yahuwah Eloheinu, and also with him that is not here with us.
What do you mean, him that is not here? Somebody late. Somebody still in Egypt. Galloping on the horse, they late to the meeting. When you look that up, and other translations show you, when it says him that is not him, it says future Israelites. That means everybody that was inside of the Israelites made that covenant too. So they'll get the blessings or they'll get the curses. And that's how it's set up. When Adam fell and sinned, everybody inside of Adam was affected by his consequences, by him breaking that covenant. When Noah came to his fullness after the 40 days, the 40 nights after the rain, the Most High made a covenant with him, and he told the earth with everybody inside of Noah saying that I will never flood the earth again. That promise wasn't just to Noah and his children, it was to everybody inside of, because when he made a covenant, he don't make it with just man, he make it with a lineage of people. And he binds himself to it. And we're going to show you that. All right, let's go real quick. Let's move a little faster. Let's go Deuteronomy 30, verse 19. What you got, Kim?
I call
to get Exodus 24, 3 through 8.
I call heaven and earth to record this day.
You need to study that. We got a teaching on calling heaven and earth. You got to know what that is from an ancient perspective. That's a serious thing. I call it heaven and earth.
To record this day against you.
This is why. All right, let me shut up. All right, to record this day against you.
That I have set before you life and death.
I done set before you life and death. Watch this.
Blessing and cursing.
Blessings and cursings. Watch it.
Therefore, choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live.
Choose life, that thou and thy seed. What is thy seed? Children. Because they coming into this covenant with you. This is why. If I can raise up every last one of our ancestors that was in Jerusalem that day, when they told Pilate, to give us Barabbas, and Pilate said he washed his hands with it. And this is what our crazy behind ancestors say. They said, let his blood be on us. They should have stopped right there. But they said, and our children. And then we got hit with the curse of innocent blood. You need to study that in the Bible. This is why we had all these things happen to us with these 400 years of oppression. Exodus 24, verse 3 through 8. What we got? Now, this is after everything didn't happen. You see the setting. He's giving them the blessings and the curses, right? He's telling them that everybody that's coming into this thing, according to Deuteronomy 29. Deuteronomy 30 said, choose life. He's begging them, hey, y'all choose life because I want to give you all the blessing and promises of knowing what being in covenant with me is. Not just you. I want your children to be born and be born in the blessing. That means you ain't just got a car. That means you own the car lots. That means you ain't just got the house. That means you own a kingdom. That means you own territories, not just land. That means you own countries, not 10 acres of land. All right, let's keep going. Where we at right now? We did Exodus 24. All right, so now they finna actually seal this covenant. Exodus 24. Let's go to verse 3. Go ahead.
And Moshe came and told the people all the words of Yahuwah and all the judgments. And all the people answered with one voice.
With what?
One voice.
So they gave an oath. Yahuwah gave his oath and they gave their oath. But the oath is what made the covenant actual. It's the oath, then the blood. Not the blood before the oath. Somebody gonna get that tomorrow. All right, keep going.
And said, all the words which Yahuwah has said, we will do.
Now jump down to verse. Just keep reading.
And Moshe wrote all the words of Yahuwah and rose up early in the morning and built an altar under the hill, the 12 pillars according to the 12 tribes of Yasharel. And he sent young men of the children of Yasharel, which offered burnt offerings and sacrificed peace offerings of oxen unto Yahuwah. And Moshe took half of the blood.
He took half of the blood. Now he finna seal it because he's making a blood covenant. It's finna be a binding agreement. Not only is he binding with those Israelites, not only is he binding himself to the strangers that are with him, he's binding himself to all of us that were in them, within their bloodline. We can even see this with Abraham. When Abraham met Melchizedek, it says that Levi got credit for paying tithes to Abraham, the Melchizedek, while he was in the loins of his father Abraham. Right? Let's keep reading.
Verse 6, and Moshe took half the blood and put it in basins, and half the blood he sprinkled on the altar. Verse 7, and he took the sefer of the covenant and read in the audience the people, and they said. Then
that was the ketubah. He had to read everything aloud. The Most High don't just bring you in no covenant unaware. That's what witches do. But he makes sure you fully understand what you're getting into. This is why a sinner's prayer ain't gonna work. You got a broken covenant with blood on your hands, and you think you can just come and say a sinner prayer and that'll put you back in covenant with Yahuwah. If you got kicked out by blood, you got to come back by blood. And you got to repair the oath that was broken. We might talk about that tomorrow. All right, keep going.
And they said, all that Yahuwah has said we will do, and be obedient. And Moshe took the blood and sprinkled it on the people. And
said, sprinkled it on who?
The people.
Now y'all would have ran away from that thing. What kind of hoodoo stuff going on out here in this wilderness? Oh, don't put that blood on me, Moses. Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the who?
On the people.
And said what?
And said, behold the blood of the covenant, which Yahuwah has cut with you concerning all these words.
Concerning what?
All these words.
Now the covenant is sealed. And ain't no getting out. The only way you get out now is through death. So we see in that, right? Now, we got to look at, okay, they came into covenant. But we got to look at what happened. Did they stay in right covenant, or did they break the covenant? Because if we're going to find out, this is what I had to do, what I was thinking about then. If I'm going to find out who the Most High chosen people are today, and I got the Jewish people versus the quote-unquote black people, the Jewish people look like they under the blessing. They own everything. They got their own state. Seem like they rich. They control all the stuff in wickedness and evil. Then the black people, as a nation, they look like they are cursed. So in my mind, I say, I got to see that they hold up their end. Because he told them what was going to happen. Let's see. Let's go to Daniel 9 through 14. Daniel chapter 9, 9 through 14. Let's get there. Daniel chapter 9. Over here. One of y'all get it, y'all go ahead and read. Daniel chapter 9, verse 9. Stand right here, my way. There we go. Alright, Daniel chapter 9, verse 9, and it reads, Elder, you get Isaiah 42, 23 through 25. Daniel chapter 9, verse 9 through 14, gonna let us see what happens. And it reads, To Yahuwah our Elohim belong mercies and forgiveness, though we have rebelled against it. Uh-oh, I'm getting a clue. Neither have we obeyed the voice of Yahuwah our Elohim to walk in his laws, which he set before us by his servants, the prophets. Yea, all of Israel has transgressed thy law. Now wait a minute. So this is telling me all of Israel has transgressed thy law. Now I'm getting to understanding where I got to find out what happened to these people, because what the book told me in Deuteronomy 28, that these curses shall be upon them. But now I'm starting to see that Israel ain't under the blessing, so somebody lying. Neither have we obeyed the voice of Yahuwah to walk in his laws, which he set before us his servants the prophets. Yea, all of Israel have transgressed thy law, even by departing that thou may not obey his voice, when he told us to diligently hearken. Therefore, the curse is poured upon us, not the blessing. And the oath that is written in the law of Moses, that the servant of God, because we have sinned against him. And he hath confirmed his words, which we spoke against us, when you go back, and against our judges that judge us, by bringing upon us a great evil. Now I got to go in Deuteronomy and go to the scriptures and find out what this great evil was and see if it's still happening today. For under the whole heaven have been done what has been done upon Jerusalem. And when it's talking about Jerusalem there, it's not just talking about a place. Jerusalem is also known as a people. So it's saying under the whole earth, nothing has been done like what has been done upon Jerusalem. No atrocities have happened what been happening among us. Then that's when you have to begin to look and see what happened according to the book that relates to the people all the way up until this day. All right? Let's get Isaiah 42, 23 through 25.
Isaiah 42, 23. Who among you will give ear to this, or will hearken and hear from the time to come? You gave Yaakov for a spoil.
You gave Yaakov for a what?
Spoil. And Yasharel to the robbers.
So Yaakov was given for a spoil. That means all his goods, everything was taken to him. Like you take the spoils of war, all his goodness, his riches, his understanding, all those things was taken from him. And what else?
Did not Yahuwah, he against whom we have sinned, for they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his Torah. So
we finding out what happened. They must have broke something. Keep going.
Therefore he has poured upon him.
Poured upon us what?
The fury of his anger.
The fury of his anger. That's it.
And the strength of battle.
And the strength of battle. Now I got to go and look and see what was the fury of his anger that he declared, and then go see if it's upon the people. See if it's upon the Jewish people, or see if it's on the quote-unquote people of color, of Israelites of the world. Right? So now we understand that they done broke the curses. Now let's go look at the curses. and see how it relates to the people. Let's go get Deuteronomy. What we looking at like on time?
9:02.
9:02. All right. 15 minutes and I'm going to be done. We'll finish the rest of it another day. Tomorrow. All right, so I know they under the curse. I know they done messed up. Now I got to go see what's the fury of his anger. I got to go begin to look at what is he speaking of and how is it on the people. Because it says that their whole bloodline would experience this. Not just the people that sin, but their children will experience the blessing, or their children will experience the curse. Y'all following? Let's go. Can we get Deuteronomy 28:45 through 46? And then Elder, you get Deuteronomy 28:63 through 64. These are prophetic curses that's going to happen. Yeah, when you got it, go ahead. Deuteronomy 28, and y'all need to mark this one. Y'all need to mark this one.
Moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee and overtake thee.
Wait, stop. Notice this. That's 3 categories. That's 3 categories. All of these curses shall come upon thee. That means while you're in the land, the curses that are predicated to the land shall come upon you. Right? And then what's the next thing?
And shall pursue thee.
Not only when you leave, if some of y'all escape the land, then these curses, wherever you migrate to, wherever you go, when you start walking in idolatry, they're going to pursue you. They'll find you. If you're in the north, they're coming. If you're in the south, they're coming. If you're on the east of the hemisphere, they're coming. You're on the west because they got a marker within your DNA because you got an oath within you. So even when you scatter from the land, when you run from persecution, they coming to follow you. And they'll never miss their Israelite man because you're the only one under this oath. And when they pursue you, what they going to do?
And overtake thee.
That means they're going to arrest you. Wherever you at. If you in America, they're going to overtake you. If you in Australia, they're going to overtake you. If you in Africa, they're going to overtake you. If you in Canada, they're going to overtake you. If you in Asia, they're going to overtake you. Ain't it amazing that everywhere we at, we having the same problem? Globally, wherever the Israelites are, we having the same problems to a certain degree. All right, keep reading.
Till thou be destroyed.
Till thou be what?
Destroyed.
Destroyed, right? To be destroyed from an ancient perspective is to be not knowing what your culture is, not knowing what your language is, not knowing what your Elohim is, not knowing what your customs is. Not being separated from your Elohim is to be destroyed. When you take on the nature of another people, take on their systems, take on their religion, and take on their religions, and take on their customs, that means you are destroyed from your ancient paths. Your people not knowing who they are. Alienated from your promises. Meaning destroyed. Alright, keep going.
Because thou hearkenest not unto the voice of Yahuwah thy Elohim, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee. And they shall be upon thee.
Wait a minute. Now they're going to be upon thee. Keep going.
For a sign.
For a sign. What does a sign represent, y'all? It gives you what?
Distinction.
Identify. You know when you see that stop sign to stop, it identifies. Or it's like a banner. So it said these curses going to be on a specific people for a sign. Or when you look that word sign up, it's evidence. Keep going.
And for a wonder,
And for a wonder.
and upon thy seed,
And upon, see, look how he keep talking about the seed. That's us. And upon thy seed, what?
forever.
Forever. Or when you look that word along, or for a long continuance of time. Are we seeing that? All right, let's get Deuteronomy 28:63 through 64.
63. And it shall come to pass that as Yahuwah rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so Yahuwah will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught. And ye shall be plucked from off the land, whether you go to possess it.
You're going to be plucked off from the land where you go to possess it, right? That's the curses coming upon you.
And Yahuwah shall scatter you among all people from the one end of the earth even unto the other. And there you shall serve other Elohim, which neither you nor your fathers have known, even wood and stone.
So these are what's going to happen, that you're going to, these curses are going to come upon you. You're going to serve Elohims that you never knew, that you never understood. Even wood and stone. Wood can be representing Catholicism, Christianity. Stone can be representing the copperstone, Islam. All those things are the same thing, but they're going to be gods that you or your forefathers never knew. And then you're going to be scattered on the four corners of the earth. Right? And then when you really look that up, you'll begin to look at the different scatterings. Right? You look at the first scattering when you have to look in the book of Judges and look every time they messed up, the Most High sent a nation in. Judges chapter 2, chapter 4, chapter 6, chapter 8. You'll look at and see when they messed up, the Most High sent a nation in. He'll raise up the deliverer, deliver them up. Then they say the children of Israel messed up again. He'll come in and then they'll mess up, and they'll raise up a deliverer to bring them out. And then you'll see where the Assyrians came and got the northern kingdom, right? You'll see where Babylonians came and got the southern kingdom. And you'll see the Persians came, and then you'll see the Greeks came, the Romans came, all the way up into the Americas, right? But now let's keep looking at the prophecy and how it relates to us. Let's get Luke 21, verse 20. Luke 21, verse 20. And Kimmy, you get Deuteronomy 28 and 68. These are all scattering curses. Elder, you get Deuteronomy 28, verse 49. I'll go with Luke 21, verse 20. I'm going to come back and I'm going to explain these things a little further, but I got to show you how we were scattered. These are scattering scriptures, right? And this is how you show somebody that Yahushua even spoke of this scattering. Because all the other scatterings had already happened. They already went through Assyrian captivity. They already went through Babylonian captivity. They already went through a Persian captivity. Then got released. Then went through Greek captivity. Then we went through, then we're in Roman captivity. Then Yahushua is going to prophesy another captivity. The reason I'm not spending time on the different captivities right now, because we're proving that we are the children of Israel. So we got to show how the transatlantic slave trade was spoken of in prophecy. Deuteronomy 21, verse 20. Luke, I'm sorry. I hope I'm helping some people online. Am I helping you? I know some of this is old stuff, but I hope I'm giving you a little foundation of how you proving us over here in the Americas through the scriptures. So this is why we ain't focusing on Assyria, Babylon, Greek, Roman. We talking about us now. Luke 21. Let's look at Yahushua himself in verse 20. Let me see where I'm at. Alright. Now let's go to I want to start it. Let's go to Luke 21, verse 7. Let's go to Luke 21, verse 5. And some spake of the temple, how it was adorned with goodly stones and gift, and he said, as for these things which you behold these days, this is Yahushua talking, the day will come in which there shall not be left one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And they said unto him, Master, but when shall these things be? That means, when is the destruction of the temple? What sign would that be when these things shall come? And he said, take heed that you be not deceived. So many shall come in my name, saying that I am salvation. Now, let's go down to verse 20. He talked about a few things. He explained those things. And verse 20 says, and when you shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, he's talking to his followers, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh. That's when you have to study 70 AD. Then let them that are in Judea, them that are in Judea, flee to the mountains. And let them that are in the midst thereof depart out. Let not them that are in the countries therein and stay too. So he said, when you begin to see these armies surround Jerusalem, he told his followers to get out of there. Flee to the mountains. You begin to look where they begin to flee to. They ended up in Africa. Right? Verse 22. Watch this. It's going to give you a clue. For these be the days of vengeance, that all things which were written may be fulfilled. But wait a minute, I thought all the other captivities was already fulfilled. Now he's talking about it again. But woe unto them that have sucked with child in those days. It's talking about those days. And them that give suck in those days. For there shall be great distress in the land. And notice he said, wrath upon this people. Not upon everybody, but upon this people. Then what's going to happen? They shall fall by the edge of the sword, and they shall be led captive into all nations. So this is showing you that he's speaking of a future time where the nation is going to be destroyed, and then they're going to be led captive into all nations. Now I got to look in history and see a time when a national captivity and slave trade happened, that they would have to go into all nations. How in that time am I going to get into all nations? That prophecy can't be just fulfilled in 70 AD, because you can't go into all nations just by horses. They ain't have no airplanes at the time where you can fly people into all nations. But there was going to be a time that he's speaking of that's going to be documented, that his people was going to be scattered into all nations. And when you look up the sub-Saharan slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade, that slave trade took us into every continent on the earth, all nations. And then watch what he said was going to happen when the people, this lets you know that the Jewish people ain't the people. Because he says, when these people go into all nations, then Jerusalem shall be trodden down by the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So that's saying the people ain't going to be in the land. And the land going to be trodden down by Gentiles when the people are scattered throughout the nations. But let's look at Deuteronomy 28 and 68. Let's get that. And who I told to get Deuteronomy 28 and 49.
I got 68.
You got 68, Kim, you get 49. So let's see how are they going to go into all nations? They can't go by horse. They ain't have no airplanes. They ain't have no UFOs. So how is prophecy going to be fulfilled? Let's read it.
And Yahuwah shall bring you into Mitzrayim, or bondage again with ships.
Bondage again, Mitzrayim, slavery again, because Egypt was known as the house of bondage. Just like if they would come and take us out of America and we'll go into the promised land and then we start being stupid and somebody say, hey, you want to go back to America again? What would we say? No, I don't want to go back to what? Bondage. Keep going.
Again with ships.
With what?
With ships.
With ships. So ships is going to deliver us into all the nations captives, fulfilling the vengeance of what was spoken by the oath and the law that Yahushua is speaking of. Keep reading.
by the way whereof I spoke unto you.
Uh-huh.
You shall see it no more again, and there you shall be sold unto your enemies.
There you shall be sold unto them that love you.
Your enemies.
There you shall be sold unto them that appreciate you working for their company.
Your enemies.
There you shall be sold to those that want to take care of you by giving you a vaccine.
No, your enemies.
So we understand that we were sold into a nation that was our enemies. Our graveyard. America is our what? Enemies. Keep reading.
For bondmen and bondwomen.
For bondmen, that means slave men and slave women. Now we'll deal with Deuteronomy 28 because there's some stuff that people try to say about it now that, you know, they shall sell themselves. We'll go over all that and also too, right? Now, so we see we went by ships. Deuteronomy 28 and 49. Now let's go see what nation is going to come against us and what they're going to look like.
Yahuwah shall bring a nation against thee from far.
Wait. So all the other nations was in close proximity. They wasn't too far. But this nation is going to come from afar. Keep going.
From the end of the earth.
From the end of the earth. So that's saying from the other side of the earth. All right, keep going.
As swift as the eagle flieth.
So as swift as the eagle flies, so their emblem is going to be the eagle.
And a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
They understood the other nation's tongue. But this nation came talking in a language that we couldn't understand. Did that not happen in the transatlantic slave trade? A nation that we couldn't understand their tongue, their emblem was the eagle. What's our emblem here? The eagle. All the nations that passed us to each other, our emblem was the eagle. From the ends of the earth, who nation that you didn't, language you didn't understand. They give away who that's talking about. Keep going.
A nation of fierce countenance.
A fierce countenance. That means angry, wicked. That would destroy you. Keep going.
Which shall not regard the person of old.
Did they regard the old people? No, they killed them. They beat them. They didn't honor the old like our book tell us to do. They destroyed them. They raped them. They threw some of them overboard because they called them useless. They castrated some of them. They took some of the women and did experiments on them. They didn't regard the old or what else?
Nor show favor to the young.
Nor show favor to the young. They hung the children. They fed the children as alligator bait. They did experiments where they would bust the children's head open to do experiment projects on them. They sold a boy for wine. They made young girls prostitutes. They made young men homosexuals. They came in and did all kind of wicked things to the children. Show no regard. Keep reading.
And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land.
That's good. We ain't got into those curses yet. All right, so now we seeing that Yahushua said that we're going to be scattered on the four corners. We're going to be go captive into all nations. Transatlantic slave trade checked out. During that time that Gentiles was going to trot in the land. So how in the world we get to the four corners? By ships, according to Deuteronomy 28 and 6 to 80. Then who coming with the ships? Deuteronomy 28 and 49. A fierce nation, that tongue you shall not understand, that ain't going to give regard to the old nor to the young. And teach you their religions, where you will serve their gods, that neither you nor your father have known, either wood or stone. They knew the gods of the Syria. They knew the gods of the Babylonians. They knew the gods of they end up knowing the gods of the Greek. But the gods of these last transatlantic slave trade, they had no idea. We didn't, because they stripped everything for us. Neither you nor your fathers had known. All right, let's go to Isaiah 22 and verse 17, and then let's get Deuteronomy 28 and 25, and we'll start right there.
So you said Deuteronomy
28 and verse 25.
28 and 20.
Let me get Isaiah 22, because it's a couple of people came and got us.
And Yahuwah.
Oh, not yet. It wasn't just America. It's the Portuguese. It's the Romans. It's the Spaniards. All these people began to come and get us. But was that prophesied in Scripture? It's almost as they was tossing us to each other. Here, you go get them. Or now you go get them. You build a sugar cane. No, you build a tobacco. No, you build a cotton with them. Watch this. Let's look at this in Scripture. Isaiah 22, verse 17. Behold, Yahuwah will carry thee away with a mighty captivity. That means he's going to carry you away with a mighty captivity in these ships, and will surely cover thee. He will surely violently turn and toss you like a ball into a large country. That means that all these nations was tossing us like they playing basketball until we got to their large countries. Deuteronomy 28 and 25. And we'll end right there, and we'll come back tomorrow and talk about after the ships, what happened on the land. Deuteronomy 28 and 25.
And Yahuwah shall cause you to be smitten before your enemies. You shall go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth.
Shall be what?
Removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. So
you're going to be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth through this captivity. Now, we showed you the prophetic curses, and we showed you the scattering of Judah. When we get back tomorrow, we're going to show you what happened when we hit the lands of these countries. We're going to show you the psychological curses, the curses that must fear, oppression, sorrow of heart, and madness of mind. Then we're going to show you the economic curses. Then we're going to show you the oppressor's mindset and their dominion over us. Then we're going to show you the loss of our nationality and culture curses according to the Scripture. Then we're going to show you the religions. We're going to show you the diseases that we will have over here and the breakdown of the family. Then we'll show you the redemption and what the Most High prophesied about what we would do when we return unto him in the lands of our captivity and what that looks like. So, what time is it?
9:25.
All right. I think that's 15 minutes. So we're going to end it right there. I hope we was able to give you enough to start off with. It's going over foundational things to be able to really, because everybody should know how to do this. Everybody should know how to go through the Scriptures to prove who we are according to Scripture. That's foundational stuff. When we understand covenant, we're going to talk about covenants, and we're talking about what covenant means later. And how did that look? We'll talk about some of the things, the Torah, to get that understanding. But you have to be able to understand this if you're saying you're Israel. You got to be able to prove it. All right? We got any questions? Any of y'all got any questions, any comments? Anything y'all want to add? Got something you want to add? Tell us, give us something. Anything.
It's succinct, and it's that line upon line, that precept upon precept. And when you go back, and you look and it talks about they're going to speak in a foreign language, which makes it even more important to be able to lay the foundation, to set the pretext and the context and the post-text,
right,
to get a clear understanding.
Right.
Instead of taking a shortcut of, I know what it means in English.
Right. You got anything you want to add, Kimmy? There you go. All right. Anybody on here want to add anything? Or got a question for me real quick? According to what we just, don't have me no crazy questions in the sense of talking about if the earth flat or not. That ain't what we talking about. How do we search out the idioms of the Hebrew culture? It's books on it. You can go to Amazon to get books on Hebrew idioms. The idioms of where you have to use Hebrew idioms. You can even Google Hebrew idioms, and all this stuff will come up, and it'll show you what the idioms are. But it's better to get the books on the Hebrew idioms. So you can also look at their their citations, is that what you call it? Their citations to see where they're pulling their information from. Also too, but you can really, to get a quick understanding of it, just Google Hebrew idioms and it'll come up. But if you want a fuller understanding of it, go to Amazon, put that in, Hebraic idioms, and you'll see multiple books on it, man. I'm talking about it, it'll help you understand the scriptures a lot better. Was Benjamin a part of the land? Yes. Because you got to remember that was the southern kingdom. The southern kingdom was Judah. Judah represented Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. So they was all together in their scattering. But they was part of the southern kingdom when the Most High split the northern and the southern kingdom. Remember, the northern kingdom was already scattered by Assyria. But Judah, the southern kingdom, is the kingdom that was scattered all over the earth. All right, well, that look like all the questions. We're going to get on off here. Someone asked me today if I can explain the difference between the Bible and the Quran. The one thing you can give them is prophecy. The Quran ain't got no prophecy in it, and the Quran which speaks of things that are speak of the prophets in the Bible. The Quran don't identify who the children of Israel is. The Quran can't tell you when the breakdown of the children of Israel, what happened to the Elohim, why we was broken, and then what's our redemption and what's our return. The Quran has nothing to benefit us, to get us back to our Elohim. Said, where was our land if we escaped to Africa? I'm sorry, that was a wrong statement. We was already in Africa, because Israel is northeast Africa. So we just went further in Africa. So I apologize about that, if I made a distinction. All of it is the continent of, well, what we call today, quote unquote, Africa. All right. I'm going to get on off here. And we're going to bid you shalom, everybody that's in the house and that's paying attention. Love y'all and see you soon. Shalom.